afternoon, everybody. I am excited to bring today's guest to everybody here. We got another series of dealer teamwork interviews featuring the one and only George Nenni, principal consultant for Generations Digital, a longtime friend. Everybody knows George. George, say hello. How you been, buddy? Good to see you.
Hello. Thanks for having me, Eric.
We've only done a handful of these so far. I had to have you on the initial list. So for anybody that has been under a rock for 30 years and doesn't know George, George, just give just a quick overview and a little bit about your history. Most people probably know you from Dominion and everything that you did, prior to that. I won't take your thunder, but please share a little bit about your history on that. It's a wonderful story that you have to tell about how you got started, and then we'll go into a little bit more about what you've done and obviously where things are at right now with Generations. Okay.
Sure. Love to. So started in the car business in '93. Two of my older brothers, I'm the youngest of seven, two of my older brothers had started a business called Dealer Specialties in '89. They were still working their day jobs and had just started to franchise in late '92. I joined in '93. From '94 to really '99, we covered the country with Dealer Specialty franchisees, sold the business to Trader Publishing. Over the years, Trader became Dominion Enterprises and made a number of different acquisitions in the website, CRM, DMS space. They then, continued to grow and continue to kind of manage those businesses. I was fortunate enough to be able to run Dealer Specialties in operations for the digital marketing business up until August of 2017, when I left to start Generations Digital. And, really my mission was to sort of take a step out of the corporate world, large groups of employees and management layers, and really try to do something more simple where I was back directly working with dealers in dealerships or on the phone with dealerships on a daily basis, and really trying to help them be better consumers of digital marketing.
I remember when you were just thinking about it, when you were still at Dominion, and I remember you did, I got to hand it to you, you spent a lot of time, as you typically do with, your analytical brain, the way you work in terms of, being very logical with, all of your moves. And I got to hand it to you. Like I said, you reached out to me. I know you talked to several other, good friends in the industry. And, the way you went about it was so different compared to how a lot of people make the move from retail or even from another vendor to the consultant role. And I got to hand it to you for that. And that was pretty smart move on your part. And I can tell you, it seems to be paying off for you. I did have one quick question though for you regarding the move. So I have to ask, did you grow up as a farmer in Ohio or around farming? Was that in your family at all?
Well, that's there'd be a long-winded answer that I'll save you from, but I've taken a couple personality tests. I took one right out of college in the late 80s, and then took another one when I worked for CompuServe in the early 90s. Took these long battery of questions to try to determine what you want to be in life. My mindset was always software sales, digital marketing, all computer IT. And in both tests that were roughly 4 years apart with different companies, it said that I should go into agriculture. So somewhere in my background is agriculture, but yeah, I enjoy gardening. That's about it.
Well, I thought it was interesting because I've heard you say it many times. I think it's in part of your bio and LinkedIn. Ohio, by the way, is known for obviously their farming and agriculture, and wheat is one of their key crops, obviously. And you always say it. Part of your goal was to be able to separate the wheat from the chaff. So,
That's right.
Yeah, I thought that was interesting. But how has that applied to what you were seeking out to solve for dealers, with Generations Digital? How does that phrase fit to what you're trying to do with the solutions and the conversations that you're bringing to the table?
Sure. It's really trying to make dealers or help dealers to become better consumers of digital marketing. And what I mean by that is, we all work with top operators in automotive, and these are really, really smart folks that know their businesses inside and out, absorb new information and process it really quickly. But, they may not always know the difference between SEM and SEO and all the different KPIs around digital marketing. And as I got deeper into it, it almost kind of pulls at your heartstrings a little bit, because you feel bad when you go into a dealership that's been taken advantage of, and someone who does know the technology and knows the dealer is not does not understand it as well and doesn't know the right questions to ask, and the dealer ends up overpaying or getting a bunch of garbage traffic that isn't really helping them. So one of our things we do for dealers is we try to tell them, look, doing business with us should not be a life sentence. We want to make you better consumers of this product. And it really makes me feel good when 3 or 4 months into this, a dealer will say, hey, George, you'd have been really proud of me. I had a vendor come in the other day, and they were offering all these different things. I asked them 3 or 4 questions that you've taught me really to ask through, and they didn't know the answer. They had to run back and get a technical crew to help them answer it. And so that makes me feel great, because now they're better. They maybe they want to stay with me, maybe not. But when I leave, I'll leave their Google Analytics more customized. I'll leave them better able to ask those hard questions.
That's great. That's great. Give us a couple of examples of some of the things that you actually weren't expecting to see that you have uncovered. And just whether it's wasted spend, improper setup, just convoluted processes. What really shocked you and really made you charge forward even more to try to find other examples like that?
Yeah, probably the biggest shock was the waste in paid search. I mean, getting in there and starting to look at it, early on I thought, well, this is going to be a relatively straightforward and easy way to begin to help dealers. And almost without exception, every dealer we encountered, we would get a hold of their analytics. We would dive in and see these big areas of waste that we were able to quickly pivot and help. And our goal is never to get the agency fired. We're hopefully another set of eyes that can be additional inputs for them. And sometimes the agency teaches us things, sometimes we teach them things, but just the huge amount of waste, and that the dealer's eyes really weren't on it. And when we first started off, I mean, gosh, Eric, when I first started off, I was offering a lot of services for free. And you're right, I reached out to you and Joe Webb and Steve Stawning and Brian Pash, and so many people were so open with just saying, hey, look, we'll send you our sample contracts, we'll send you our PowerPoint, our slide decks, how we go out and present it. And so as opposed to being threatened, they just embraced it and really helped me. But it was, as I would first started off, I gave a lot of free services away. And so I'd be there rolling out my findings to the dealer, and I'd give them a big 25-page report, and they'd start thumbing through it. And when they would see the keywords that they were bidding on, and when they would see the mismatch with the search queries and the keywords, or $25, $30 cost per click in some cases, believe it or not, the dealers would get angry in these meetings, and they would want to get on the phone right there with the agency, which, we would set up meetings afterwards and then start tuning these campaigns. And so, they got hooked on it pretty quick. And, again, our goal was not to have it go on forever, but to hopefully at some point have them learn analytics, or have someone at the dealership trained to learn analytics, so that then we can go help other folks and they're off on their way.
That's great. Do you think that this has, at least, are you starting to scratch the surface, or are you further beyond that in terms of understanding which agencies and which other firms and consultants are welcoming you with open arms? And have you been met with resistance from others who are like, no, I don't want to get on the call with George, because I mean, there might be transparency issues. I mean, what have you encountered?
Yes, you definitely get resistance. And speaking of transparency, if the agency won't connect Google Ads to Google Analytics, so that's a big problem. We just started a new group up in Northwest Ohio that was using an agency who refused to connect analytics with Google Ads. And so from our perspective, we said to them, look, you probably shouldn't hire us, because we can't help you in the most critical part where we think we'll find waste. And so we ended up steering them to another agency that we work with. And again, we don't receive any spiffs, incentives, commissions. There's no incentive that we have to provide guidance toward a certain agency, other than we've seen their work before, we've graded their work before, and we want to share a good resource with the dealer. And so we try to stay agnostic that way. But and we really try to go in. I try to go in really, really soft stepping, and you get them to know I'm not trying to get them out. I'm trying to show them some areas that can help. And so I think the 20% of the great agencies out there see that, they're like, no problem. Hey, thanks for the input. And from their perspective, I'm helping them to do some of the heavy lifting each month, so they don't have to go through and do keyword inspection and those sort of things. So
Yeah, I remember when you first started. We were all cheering you on as well, and I remember when there was our first crossover, and you had some clients that Dealer Teamwork had, and you were injecting yourself in, and I loved it. And the first thing, I think, the first realization for people like Sean and myself, internally, we realized, oh, you know what? We know George. We all love George, and we trust and respect him. But our company may not know George. We got a lot of these other account managers and search managers. So I was very excited when we were able to bring you in, and basically just it wasn't like you didn't have to sell anything other than yourself. But I thought that was fantastic, and you did a great job of that, by the way. Coming in and just sharing what you do, and you know they walked away, after you left that day. I remember our team was like, this guy's great. It was a welcome change. Are you doing a lot of that, do you see? Is that an opportunity for you?
Yeah, a little bit. I've done a couple others. I've done some remote, phone training with some of the third party classified either sales managers or sales teams. Again, I love that kind of stuff, and a lot of that is not, it's not really paid consulting. It's just more us trying to help build relationships, but also make the agencies better. But yeah, I mean, you guys are a great example of with your staff. I really just try to team up, and we all have the same goal, right? We're trying to get better results for the dealer. And so again, sometimes there was a case last week where a large digital agency helped me with a discovery around SEO, and it caused us to build 4 new sets of data studio reports, all because they opened our eyes in terms of the way we could slice the data. And that's us learning from the agency. So we really we like it best when it's that partnership.
That's great. So what type of growth plans do you see and opportunities for yourself? I know you brought your sister on, Suzanne, and she's helping you out. That seems to be a nice addition. How's all this crazy change happening? What does that mean for you and what you are trying to do with Generations?
It is if anything, this whole crisis has just fired up us up more. You've been in the car business for a long time. You've been a dealer yourself. If you've been in this business long enough and you've chosen that, I mean, for me now going on 30 years, you love dealers, you love the business. Your heart really goes out to the dealers. You become like super connected to them. And so when this whole thing started, you lose a lot of sleep. You don't eat a lot. You're like, not for your own welfare. Your heart goes out to these great operators who, no fault of their own, are now getting all this pressure. And, so we just, we sent out notes to all of our customers and non-customers and just said, 24/7, our phones are on. If you have an issue, if we can help you, we're trying not to get in their way, but we built a lot of new reports that would give daily kind of slices that would start at February 1 and look at that critical March 11th to March 22nd, bathtub shaped curve that a lot of the dealers saw in their traffic and conversions. And then, almost daily trying to give them, reports to help them say, hey, we're coming out of this. It made me feel really good when I would get in front of the dealer principal and show them that, and they would lean in and say, George, you mean there's people shopping on my website? And you're like, yes, there's, just because your phone's not ringing as much and they're not in the showroom, they're all over your website and they're looking at vehicles and they're doing these things and they're chatting and texting. And so, it's helping to educate them. And I think they left some of those calls more energized to say, hey, I really like the way Brian Pash phrased it a few weeks ago. He said dealers got to sell their way out of it. I've borrowed that on a number of occasions, and I think that really becomes the message. That doesn't mean go out and buy a bunch of get upside down on a bunch of additional inventory, but really just be thoughtful about it. And from a marketing perspective, just outperform your competitor in terms of messaging to your customers and prospects and those sort of things.
So that's great stuff, George. I appreciate it. What about the experiences you learned working with your brothers and having a family business? What were some of the biggest takeaways that you had from working under your older brother and your brothers and that whole experience? And how did that help influence you?
Yeah, great question. So it was a ton of fun. If you're going to work in a family business, the work ethic has to be pretty matched, and you have to have respect for each other. And then, when all those things kind of line up, family business becomes even better, I think, than non-family businesses, because you share the passion and you can could push each other and you trust each other maybe to a higher level. And so in those early years, and even when we got acquired by Dominion Trader Publishing back in those days, I think we had 8 or 10 employees. We moved a lot of trash with 8 or 10 employees. We didn't have a lot of big meetings. We didn't muddle over logical decisions. We just went and executed on those. And so, it's kind of that, I may mess up the saying, what is it? Good is the enemy of perfect, or of good enough, And so when we would see things that we clearly knew would deliver, increase business for us, or help our dealers, or help their customers, or deliver revenue, we just went and did those. And so sometimes that meant that we would make a mistake or two because we tried to execute too quickly, but we were way faster than our competitors, and we would get products to market in a couple of weeks, or maybe a month, from concept to delivery. So I love those days. And now obviously I'm a committee of one, and my sister gives input as well. My wife helps me with thinking through things, and so it's the same sort of thing. Lots of execution and not a lot of mulling it over.
Any plans to get Henry or Will involved with the business?
Yeah, definitely would love to. They're maybe a year or two away. I've tried to convince them during this crisis. You've got this resource at home, and we started to a little bit last night, trying to show Henry Google Analytics. My sister Suzanne is extremely bright, and she's been taking on more and more learning. So during some of this downtime for some of us, I've been really pouring on the training for her, and so she's just absorbs it.
Yeah, that's cool.
I don't know what I would do without my sister. She does all the analysis and all the reports that we do for all of our dealers. She takes that first draft. She builds that first big document using Data Studio, writing out the narrative, doing the comparisons, making conclusions that I didn't yet see in the data. She gives it to me. Then we do a final once over, and then we deliver it. Now, even increasingly, she's on the review calls. We took her to NADA. She's like, now I know what CRM stands for, what that all means. And so it makes it a lot of fun.
Yeah, that's great. I've even had to go, everybody's home, everybody's looking for something new to do. I've even got my wife involved as well with some of the processes that we have, almost just more to the point of just being like, hey, we need something else to do. And like I said, I've even had Susan help out with some deep dive analytics and just trying to find some stuff. And yeah, it's interesting. It's interesting what you can do when in situations like this. What about those family influences that you mentioned and those experiences? How do you leverage those for your own family? Like, in terms of helping to guide your kids. You've always been a strong family man. You got just a beautiful family, obviously, but you got 4 smart, intelligent kids, and how does that influence your leadership over them as well?
Yeah, I was raised by Depression era parents. They're now thankfully still alive, both of them 92 years old, and a large family, so youngest of 7. And it just, my father had a commercial printing business growing up. So we all grew up making plates, running printing presses and folders and slitters and stitchers. And so that started in our basement. My father started it in '68. He had tried a couple times and it didn't work out and had to move back down in the basement. And so, we kind of grew up in that entrepreneurial environment, but it was a lot of hard work. If you got woken up on a Sunday or Saturday morning at 7 o'clock with a hot breakfast, there's a reason. You're working all day, but you're going to start your day with a nice with eggs and bacon, and then you might be home at 2 and worn out. But anyway, just high expectations, high work ethic, and just preach a lot to them and try to program them to do all those right things. Of course, all shaped by religion and God and the right value and belief system, and I love it.
So what do you think has truly made you stand out from the other smaller consulting companies that are out there? Because it seems like, at least from my perspective, you hit the ground running and it was successful. And it's kind of, obviously that's truly not how it is behind the scenes ever, but that's a great perception to have instead. But at the same time, you've had a nice trajectory. You've got a great following. People, like I said, people trust and respect you. What is it that you think truly has set you apart from the other horror stories that people experience or have seen out there with other consultants? Why is George so different?
I'm probably not. I probably overpost and probably hype myself more so. And not that it's not real, but I promote a lot. And so at deep down, I'm a marketer. And so, I've tried to pair myself up with really top marketers. Lori Halter is a big piece of that. She's a great marketer and has helped me with website and PR and copywriting and really helping to make sure I frame up what I'm doing correctly. I use Upwork a ton, Upwork.com. That was the former Elance. And so I've got a collection of designers and programmers and copywriters and website designers that help me do that as well. But, and I use Canva and really try to do a lot of imagery, but my goal is to try to help as much as possible. I wish my video game was better. That's a weakness for me and something I need to work on, but most of my stuff is in written form. I try to do fairly short form, and always on the education side, so I've done a couple dealer associations and state dealer association speaking engagements, and they'll tell me to, they'll remind me to say, hey, be careful, George, don't promote your business and and I'm like, I won't even mention the name. I don't even, that piece is so easy for me, because I think if you help people and you educate people, people want to buy from people that are experts in their area or smart in individual focus. And so those things generally follow. But, the other piece is not, I think, and again, everybody's got a different model, but it's, being careful about that resale model and making sure that if you're a consultant who's really in there to teach and train and to be able to measure things, I knew quickly and really David Kane gave me this advice early on, and I'm glad I took it, was to say, don't resell. If you're going to be a pure play consultant, don't do the resale. Don't go down that road, because otherwise it'll muddy it up. The dealers won't ever have that complete trust, because they know that one product you make money on, and maybe that's the reason you don't ever talk about that product and why it may or may not be performing. So again, that was my own choice, but David influenced at a time.
I agree. I think that's great advice from David, as usual. But yeah, you've done a great job with that. I got to hand it to you with with everything you've done. Yeah, and I know you'll continue to do well. Well, hey, thanks you so much for taking the time today. Just great answers, great stories. Love what you've been doing. Please keep it up. And obviously, if me and Sean and the rest of the team at Dealer Teamwork can do anything to help support you, we obviously would. But yeah, congrats on all the success over the year. What a great, fantastic career you've had. Wonderful family. And one last thing, I always see you, sharing your cooking and your posting and your barbecue. I have to guess, are you sitting next to your grill by chance?
Yes, I am in the corner with my my Weber 22-inch Smoky Mountain cooker, otherwise known as the Weber Bullet. And then a Blaze grill, which comes out of Texas, BLAZE, gets super hot, maybe 900 degrees on the surface. But yeah, so I love cooking and eating, and I'm in one of my favorite places. But thank you guys. You guys are certainly one of the short list of companies that we recommend out there. And if anybody who's watching ever needs an unbiased testimony or needs someone to call as a reference, I can show them the data and show them the stats, and and when you guys have areas that I think could be improved, we bring them up, and the team's like, great, let's get on this. And so that's in the end what you want. I tell dealers, I'm like, look, put 10 bets on the table. That 2 or 3 of those bets may not work, but if you're not experimenting and you're not trying enough things, then you're just running the same old campaigns. And so get an agency that's going to test different things, that's going to tag it all out so they can be able to pick out the winners and the losers. But, it's okay. At the end of the month, if a couple campaigns didn't perform as well, say that's okay. We're going to stop those right away, and we're going to pivot and change those. But these other 7 or 8 are doing great. Maybe we put a little bit more funding to those. And that's really the magic for me of digital marketing is it's all measurable. It's all data. Let's just turn the dials. Let's look at the data as it comes through. Let's reward the campaigns that are doing well. Let's penalize or pivot the campaigns that aren't. And then every month our results should get better and better.
Awesome. Well, I appreciate that and appreciate your support. And again, wish you all the best. Stay safe out there, stay healthy, and we will obviously be talking again soon. I appreciate it. Thanks, George. Take it easy.
Sounds great. Thank you, Eric. You bet. You too.